So I want to talk about the love bomb. I want to talk about the love bomb phase. You know what time it is. You know what time it is in the love bomb phase. Ladies, you know, he laid it on thick. She laid it on thick, fellas. They are really like pulling out all the stops. He pulling out, she pulling, whoever. They are pulling out all the stops in this phase, you know? And as always, you know, I'm not looking to trigger or harm anyone. You know, I'm not a consultant. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. Like, I'm not a life coach. None of those things. You know, I'm just a woman who's made mistakes. I'm not a clinical professional. All right? This is all just designed for us to be able to share information with one another, be entertained, be enlightened, and gain some perspective from someone else's unique life experience, because that's where I like to speak from, a place of experience. That way I can really go there, you know. I like to really go there about things that I've experienced, that I've lived through, that pique my interest, that I want to grow about, that helps me get to know other people. Like, so this content is meaningful, and I'm really trying to go there. So let's go there. The love bomb. The love bomb. The love bomb. The love bomb. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to do too much about that. We already know what the love bomb is about. If you want to share, you don't have to get too deep. Drop it down in the comment section. That's because it's designed to be intoxicating. That's what the love bomb is supposed to do. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying somebody that you're getting to know. Like, the purpose of this exercise is, you know, to find out, you know, what your common interests are, what your direction is, do your standards line up? Like, this is the time where you ask certain questions, in my opinion, as you are entertaining the possibility of getting to know somebody. This is like the beginning phases of a connection. So that's how I see it in a healthy way. You know, you're getting to know each other, that's true. But this is a time before you're too invested, or this is a time before you make a decision about this person, like that you've vetted them a little bit, right? Like you know, you had a chance to ask some questions, see what you all have in common, see what they like, see what they don't like, their families, where do they come from, what do they do, you know, what are they inspired by. But what we really be doing is we're enjoying each other's company. We're enjoying each other's companionship. And while that's cool, that's a part of the intoxication, or at least I won't speak for you, but at least for me, that's a part of the intoxication, just the companionship. You know, you getting to know somebody. They're always paying attention to you, even when it doesn't seem like it, you know, and they're going to really be accommodating. They're really going to cater to you during this time. They're really going to do and say and be and think and feel everything that they feel like you would be okay with, that wouldn't risk pushing you away. That's what they're doing right now. They're laying it on thick, pulling out all the stops, you know, laughing at your jokes, complimenting you, all that good stuff. They've paid attention to certain things that you said you like to do. Now, me, myself, personally, when I'm in a certain mindset about it, and you know, I like to travel. I enjoy it. I love airplanes. I love airplanes since I was a little girl. So I've always loved airplanes. So I love to fly. And I can honestly say, up until this point, I haven't done nearly enough of that. I haven't traveled nearly enough, but God's will be done. God's will be done. But right now we working. All right. So we book a couple trips, like nothing like crazy extravagant, but it was like an adventure. You know, it felt adventurous. This person was traveled. You know what I mean? So that was like, okay, cool. I'm, you know, spending time with like a professional traveler. This is what they do, you know? So easy, lots of good times and memories and stuff like that. And so I'm to the point in my healing process where I could separate those experiences from any of the negative that may have happened thereafter, or whatever the case may be. Enjoyable experiences for what they were, you know? But using this opportunity to like really get to know me, and it's like when you're whisked away with somebody, you're more like dependent on them. You're more like kind of in tune with them, at least for a time. You're going to be more in tune with them. You're paying more attention to them, and they're paying more attention to you because you're kind of relying on each other. That's the beauty of, you know, being able to travel with a loved one. It kind of causes you to have to, you know, tap in with one another because you lean on one another. And that's what those things did. This is a time in my life where I'm working crazy. Like I'm fighting through some things. I'm fighting through a significant loss. I'm trying to be happy. I want to be happy. And my nature and my energy, I want to be happy. But, you know, my energy was just low. And I think that's really what it came down to, just for different reasons. But definitely always like a positive person. You know, still hopeful. Always. I'm always very hopeful, you know, no matter what. It's the little girl inside of me. It's the child in me. I'll always be that way too. So spending time, like even once we get back, this person is traveling. I'm back home working. The lines of communication is open. I'm not the type of person to look to rush necessarily. And I'm comfortable to kind of go with the flow of things, or at least that's how I saw it then. You know, I'm a lot more aware of what's going on around me, and I do enjoy taking my time. But at this time, you know, I'm kind of just leaning into it. But then, somewhere along the line, it was definitely through the course of months that I gradually started to see that change. And looking back on it now, it wasn't just because we were both busy. It was other forces at work. There were other forces at work. I didn't understand what this was I was dealing with. Transitioning into this devaluation phase, it's a lot of like nitpicking. That's how I describe it. Just picking. It's very petty and picky. It's a petty and picky time. That was my experience in my most recent. You know, that's what that was. Nitpicky. Like the same little things they used to love about you you're like annoying them. You know, they're very short. You know, by this time you're noticing like they aren't resting well. That's one thing like that sticks out for me. Like they don't rest well. They just don't. I have my own ideas of why I think that may be, but at the end of the day, like you can't just go around doing people wrong and then lay your head down. I have a hard time believing sociopath, whatever you want to call it, you're able to disassociate from things and people. That may be a thing, but I think that's deep, where you could just move through life with no regard for others and then just lay your head down. I just don't think that's a gift that they don't get, you know? And it's definitely a blessing to be able to lay your head down and, you know, drift away peacefully for your recovery. Nitpicks. Not having as much time all of a sudden, like at the wrong times of day and stuff, like being busy. Them giving you access to their home as if you should feel comfortable there, but then now it's like you're a visitor. The whole energy is different. The whole energy is different than when you used to come over before. It's little things like that. Basically, the detail that you notice that they used to pay, you're not getting that. And you notice it. You notice it. Little remarks, you know, little quips, little digs, you know, out of nowhere. And they don't feel good because they ain't right. They don't make no sense. Like you could look amazing. You can look good. Like you could be feeling good. Like, you know, you hurt. You know you him. And they'll try to convince you that you're not, even though you know you are. That's why it feels so wrong. That's why it felt so wrong to me, was because I knew that wasn't my energy. I know who I am. I didn't change. I didn't fall off at all. Like, this is me. This is the standard. So this is what I've been doing. And it's like, it's giving and doing what it's supposed to do when I'm in other settings. But for some reason, when you're around it, like, it's like, no, that's why I feel so foreign. Like, when they try to, you know, pick at you, when they try to pick you apart, you know, pick your identity apart. Like, that's exactly what they're doing. They want to confuse you. You know, they want us to be off balance. They want you to be so preoccupied with what it is that they're saying to you that you're not paying attention to what they're doing. That's why they do that. And they just get enjoyment, like, from playing in our faces. Like, they just play in your face. Like it's a video game. They loved it. That's a whole other video. I'm going to get into that too. How they just will play in your face. But just the possibility that you might overreact, that you might snap, that you might raise your voice is like everything. And the more you resist it, like the more that you're able to withstand it, the stronger that you are mentally and emotionally, the more they're going to come at you. Because they're taking offense to the fact that it doesn't feel like they can control you if they can't get you to react. See, the last people that they mess with, like, they would make a scene in public. You know, they would cry. Oh, don't ever cry. Don't ever cry. If you can help it, all right? Hey, I'll never tell you that you're wrong in your feelings. I'll never tell you that your feelings are valid, but there's a time and space for vulnerability, and this ain't it. Don't cry, because they're not coming to your rescue. Like, they're not coming to your aid. They're not coming to check on you. Like, they not, like, no. Don't do that. This is the devaluation phase, and this is also the phase where they are heavily interacting with other people, if not one new supply in particular. But there's always multiple sources of supply, but this is a direct reflection of this. And any energy that you give them during this time, they're going to use it to love bomb somebody else. So back in our regular lives, you know, just interacting, we aren't cohabitating at this time. I'm in my own space. She's in her own space. We're spending time. She's spending less time at my place. I'm still at her place here and there, but playing games, jumbling times around. Things were supposed to get done around this time. No, it's like, it's just a lot of like little silly things. Not trying to make it seem like they're standing you up, but like just no regard for your time. No, I'll just give you an example. You set up a time to come over, you show up at 8 o'clock on the dot, knock on the door, and you know they're home and they don't answer. You know they're there. You know they're there. You know they're there. You know, rest assured, they're love bombing someone else. And if you all were like taking trips or something during this time, hey, it's a possibility. Hey, it depends on the nature of the situation and how slippery they are and how much they're able to get away. But don't get so preoccupied with what is happening outside of you and them. And I think that's important because it doesn't help. It's not going to make things better for you to be focusing on what they're doing with someone else. So just, you know, as much as possible, come to a place where like you're strategizing and you're thinking about yourself. But, you know, it takes time to get to that point. It takes time to get to that point, right? And before you know it, eventually there's going to be a discard there. Now, discards are different things. You know, they're different scenarios that they create. Sometimes they push you so much that you leave. Sometimes they leave. Like sometimes they pick arguments with you on purpose in hopes that you break up, even if it's just for a few days. So there's different scenarios. You know, no two narcissists are created equal. So you'll get your own experience that way, right? So you'll have your own experience with that. But it'll be nitpicky things. Then there will become a discard where they either like push you away, like they're starting arguments on purpose, like they're doing toxic things like that. Like I said, sometimes they'll break up. They'll want to break up just for like a couple days. Or they'll do the break up with you, but it's important to me that we remain friends. Like, I need you in my life. Like, and they're so fervent. Like, they're so adamant about you still being friends. Like, they'll break up with you, but will be adamant. And they have every intention on being able to come back into your life. And I definitely experienced a discard. A few. So one of the very first discards that I remember was, this is a time where they were having to travel. Deliberately like starting arguments and doing like, you know, just nasty work. Let's call it what it is, just doing nasty work. And then kind of just switching up in their energy once they were out of my space. That's all. Switching up in the energy. Switching up in the energy. And that's the thing. Like, I think it's important at some point in time to define things, but I also feel like, you know, not everything should need to be explained in the sense that it's in the actions, it's in the execution, it's in the intention, you know? And that's what it's about. Like, just not switching up the energy on people, being an open communicator, being prepared to answer questions. I think that's important. You know, a title is a title, whatever. And yes, you know, clarity is important, but people are going to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? People are going to do what they want to do. And you're dealing with people who really the title is going to be more for you than it is for them. It's not going to stop them from doing anything. They make the rules and then they break their own rules. Like, they make the rules and then they live by a totally different set of rules. So that's another thing that we do as people. You kind of expect somewhat of a level playing field, but there will never be any such place when you're dealing with them. And I'm just going back as I tell it and I'm reflecting on it. Just so I can give you authenticity and I can kind of get back into the place where I was when these things was happening, because it feels like I'm like so far apart, and I am, right? But now they just switching up. Can't barely get them on the phone. Conversations rust a couple minutes. All of a sudden you also tired, whereas before we could stay up all night. And if you're not careful, it'll make you feel like it's you. Like, it'll make you feel like you being smothery, but that's not even what it is. It's, you know what I mean? This was what it was. And during the times when you weren't feeling it, but then I ain't talked to you all day. So just stuff like that. Not on no possession and not on nothing like that. Just switching up in energy. You know what it feels like when somebody starts to treat you different and it doesn't make you crazy. You feel me? Especially if you know you're a respectful person. I'm not like a jealous, or I'm not a possessive person. I'm very cool. And I love me some me. You understand me? I love me some me. So I love to see like people interact. I love to see people having conversations and enjoying one another. And again, people are going to do what they're going to do. I'd rather see you in your natural environment, in your natural habitat, and go from there. I feel like you do yourself a disservice when you allow other people's actions to dictate how you're going to react. It's very important that you remain poised as much as possible and see the bigger picture for what it is. You're not supposed to ever let people see you sweat like that. There's nothing wrong with like being your authentic self and having feelings, but I believe in, you know, being in control of my disposition. And if I'm in a place where I can't be in control of my disposition, then it's time for me to make my exit. Like, it's time for me to move on. It's time for me to move around. So this card has happened. We are not in the same city and state. She's out of state. For a good little clip, like a good little amount of time too, like some months, couple months or something like that. So I'm living my life again now. Like, I'm, you know, not talking to her. Here and there, like texts come through, like not really engaging in that. Like, I'm moving forward. This is the very first discard. So it threw me for a loop because it felt like it came out of nowhere. But that's how it is. Like, that's how it's supposed to feel. So, but I don't know. Somewhere along the line, I just kind of accept it for what it is. I'm still working. I still got stuff going on. Still trying to figure my own self out. But it's a lot. So after a while, like, this person just starts making contact. Now, maybe we should talk. I think we might have got off, or we had a misunderstanding. I think you know, there might have been some miscommunications. I think we should try to, you know, let's talk. It's going to be energy like that. Hey, big head. Shout out 𝑩𝒊𝒛 for that. Shout out 𝑩𝒊𝒛 for that. But it's going to be one of them messages. And with a, hey, big head, you know, what you doing? What's going on? You know, what's really been going on? Like, it's going to be some of that. That's the Hoover, right? That's the Hoover. Talking to you like nothing ever happened, like nothing ever changed, like wanting to jump right in from where they left off. That's the Hoover. They closed off whatever little business they had to close off with this person. Like, they ready to, you know, especially if you move on too. Like, especially if you kind of just come to a place where you accept it and you're not taking their calls, you're not hitting them up. And I think the fact that she was somewhere else made it difficult too, because it was like, you have no insight into what or who it is that I'm doing. Like, you have no insight into my life right now because you're somewhere else. And I think if you're the type of person, I could be stubborn. I could be a stubborn person. If you're the type of person that you could be stubborn and like you strong-willed and like, I'm the type of person, if I say to you, I never want to speak to you again, like it's up. Like, I didn't just say it and not mean it. Or if I decide within myself that I'm cool on you, that's what it is. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. I've already, you know what I mean, gotten myself together about it. And my mind is set. Like, my mind gets set. Drop it down in the comment section if you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're the type of person that, like, when your mind gets set, your mind is set. That's it. And that's how I am. Clearly my mind wasn't set because this isn't the first discard. So boom, we end up interacting again. We end up in close proximity again. It's a part of the journey. No judgment. It's a part of the journey. And obviously let the love bomb again. But again, it's not going to be nearly as intense as the first one. Just like any other drug. You know what I mean? It's never as intense as that first one. So this love bomb is cool, but the bomb wasn't really bombing no more, really. Honestly, the bomb wasn't even bombing. And then we right back on the same cycle of BS. And that's basically how the experience was. Now, I kind of wanted to take you through the phases just to kind of give you some insight into how I experienced it and how it felt for me. So that's just an example of, you know, that trifecta. You know, how I went through them, and then you accept the Hoover and you end up right back there. But as you all heard in the previous video, if you hadn't had an opportunity to check it out, I'll go ahead and make sure I link it up above. Check out part 1 where I talk about how we ended up cohabitating. So after this first love bomb or so, and then the devaluation and the discard I experienced and the process of the Hoover and all that, this is around the time where COVID is about to happen. So that was just another situation that kind of made things crazy because life was so uncertain at that time too. So that was crazy. We were already like quarantined up. Definitely not, you know, playing the victim about it. Definitely in a good place about it right now. Definitely accept responsibility for my part in it. I was enjoying myself. I ain't gonna cap. Like I was enjoying myself. I was enjoying myself, you know, but I definitely paid the price for it, but I definitely learned. I definitely learned from it too. And I don't see that I would ever put myself in that same situation again. But once we began, you know, that process of cohabitating, and I really started to understand things for what it, and I was ready to accept it then. You know, I went into a space where I ended up figuring out that I had to put an exit strategy together. You know, I've definitely, you know, spoken on that in my Get Out, you know, my exit video. You know, you can check in the description for that as well, for the link to that one too. Check out the Healing and Understanding playlist. But I'll talk about how I had to strategize and what I did, you know, to prepare myself to begin severing my ties with this person. Like my own discard. Like just after all the games, all the drama, like all the manipulation, all the hot and cold, you know, eventually I just came to a place where I knew I didn't want to live that life. Like, I saw it for what it was. I understood things for what they were. I knew what it was that I was dealing with. Plus, I'd been educating myself. And, you know, I knew that things were becoming toxic within the home. Like, it wasn't a good environment. It wasn't a good environment to be in. And you don't want to, you know, work hard and, you know, look to provide, like, and you try to build a quality of life and everything is like a fight. That's no way to live. That's no way to live. And it was a situation where I had to walk away from some things. Like, I had to be prepared to let some stuff go. You know, when you're moving and you kind of happen to be stealth about it, you know what I mean? Like, you got to make some difficult decisions, you know? I had to really reconnect to myself during that time, and like, because I was being tested. I felt like I was being tested. I felt like I was being watched. I felt like my margin for error was low because of that situation. And I knew that they were going to push. Like, I knew she was going to push. Like, I knew she was going to push and push and push. So I had to be ready for that. And those things happened. You know, those situations happened. I can honestly say there were certain situations that happened where, like, if I didn't understand what I was dealing with, or like, it could have really went there. Like, it really could have went left very, very, very quickly. Like, me knowing who I am and knowing who they are, like, it could have went bad. So I'm extremely grateful for that. But I was able to strategically, you know, get myself together over time. Pack myself up, move myself out. This person's traveling for work. So it was like, whenever they would travel for work, I was packing up. Boom. Had me a soft spot to land. Gradually started getting myself set up. You know, I had been stacking money though, because I had been stacking money. So there was that. So that wasn't going to be an issue. Had my own air transportation and all that was no problem. It was just a matter of getting out of that situation and not having to be, you know, adversely affected from a financial or a paperwork perspective. So fortunately, I was able to get all that situated. And, you know, I kind of had to start over though. It was, you know, luckily, like I said, I had a support system. I'm loved. So, and favored and cared for. So everything came together, but I definitely had to make some sacrifices. And this is also, you know, during a time in my life where I'm pursuing other things, you know, professionally. Like, I'm looking for opportunities to grow. Like, I'm really exploring that. I'm starting the beginning phases of this content journey. Like, I knew I wanted to do it, but it was like, I wasn't ever going to be able to like create or focus, or like, it just was too much going on around me. So that was a part of it too. So a lot of different factors. It's definitely been a journey. So once I was able to, you know, completely remove myself from the home, I'm no longer attached to the home, turn in my keys, remotes and everything. Like, you know, that began my journey of healing, you know, and it was definitely tough. It was a tough time. But I had a lot of love around me, and I had positive energy around me, and I had things that I was striving for. You know, I had goals that I had set that I was working toward. So having that and me being very busy, that helps me out a lot. I didn't have a lot of idle time. I was very busy during that time. You know, I was out there getting it. I was out there maneuvering. I was out there taking meetings, taking interviews. Like, I'm out here really trying to, you know, hustle and make some changes in my life. So, and not from conditions that I'm accustomed to, because I had to abruptly like leave my home. Like, I'm the type of woman, my home is my castle to me. Like, my home is my castle to me. So my comfort. So when I had to leave that was a tough time for me. And I'm expected to thrive and make some moves and show up my best self in some of these situations. But things aren't perfect. But it's okay though, you know, because that lets you know who you really are too. So that's a wonderful thing. So definitely found my way out, and I definitely grew through that situation. And now, you know, life is better than it's ever been. And that's definitely possible. But I also want to take into consideration, you know, those people who are in situations where it's harder. You know, I didn't have any children or any long-term contracts or properties or a business, you know, marriage with someone. So it was easier for me to, you know, navigate through that. And I want to, you know, acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge that sometimes you hear that. Sometimes you hear, why didn't you just leave? Why won't you just leave? I would like, but people don't understand. It's not always that simple. So I just always look to be understanding and aware that not everybody's situation is exactly the same. And, you know, just been thriving ever since. Doing really, really well, healing. And now I'm coming to a point where I'm really becoming more and more comfortable to speak about it. So I enjoy that. And that's a good thing. And I'm definitely going to keep them coming. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you for being understanding. I appreciate you for being patient. I'm working through some things, right? Consistency. I understand consistency is important. When you live a busy life, you don't complain. You find a way. So that's the process I'm in. Just finding a way and just continuing to create and looking to grow, you know, with every video that I make. But I'm extremely grateful. I thank you for spending time with me. You know, I'm here for you. And no, you're not alone too. All right, and go ahead and click this. Click right here and check out the last one. Until we meet